What's up, everyone? It's Shaletta. I'm here getting a phone for one of my newly minted teenagers with Xfinity Mobile. They've got great options, affordable plans, and solid coverage that works for our whole family. With Xfinity Mobile, my daughter can stay connected with me wherever she goes. And did you know when you sign up, you can get an extra phone line free for a full year? Switch to Xfinity Mobile today for more savings, more smiles, and more ways to stay connected.
Want your boss to put some real action behind the rhetoric when they talk about making your workplace more inclusive? Find out how to hold their feet to the fire and demand diversity on the Diversity Dude podcast.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Diversity Dude podcast. I'm your host, Lambert Fisher, marriage and family therapist, award-winning author, and national speaker on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. And for those of you who are interested in even more positive and encouraging tips and strategies beyond what I share in podcasts like this, then feel free to check out my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, nationally recognized for the unique way in which it addresses the often difficult topic of multicultural awareness and diversity, designed for more than just therapists. If you're a helping professional in any way, Diversity in Clinical Practice can help you meet the greatest variety of cultural needs possible for those whom you serve. And it's available in paper and audiobook versions for your convenience. And if you haven't heard it yet, I invite you to visit TED.com and check out my talk called What to Do When You Offend Someone, where I offer a positive and practical perspective on how to navigate unintentional offenses in daily life. To date, it's been viewed over 500,000 times. Check it out for yourself, and if you're encouraged by it as well, then share it with a friend. And whether it be through my one-on-one relationship building efforts as a therapist or my informing and empowering efforts as an author or speaker, know that my personal mission is to do my part to improve the world one strengthened relationship at a time. So, today I want to share with you an encouraging perspective on the unnecessary ban on DEI. As we all continue to adjust to the results of the most recent presidential election, many joyously and many cautiously, it is notable that among President-elect Trump's expressed priorities is a vow to ban diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, efforts in workplaces and in educational institutions on day one of his administration. This expectedly garners varying responses from those who hear it. Many who hear it breathe a sigh of relief. Finally, the reinstated president will right a wrong and correct a detrimental trend in this country and get things back to the way that makes them feel the way things should be. And many others who hear this feel an increased sense of concern that the reinstated president already has plans to make their life more difficult than they already feel like it is. As I prepare to support individuals on multiple sides of this controversial perspective and plan in my therapy environment, I began to realize that no matter what the intentions behind this plan may be, considering both the pros and the cons, the perceived injustices it seeks to correct, as well as the perceived injustices it's believed to be potentially creating, I believe the ban on DEI is unnecessary to accomplish its goals in light of its ramifications. And if you'll indulge me for a few moments, I'd like to share a few considerations regarding why it's unnecessary and what may be more beneficial instead. Consideration number one, the desire to correct an apparent injustice is reasonable. What I mean by this is if you look at DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion efforts, and automatically generate reminders of people calling DEI didn't earn it, as if to suggest that DEI is all about giving people jobs they're not qualified for just because they identify as being part of an ethnic, gender, or other minority group, then I get it. I get that if you wanted one of those jobs and it was sent to someone who you deemed unworthy of that job when you, a worthy candidate, are available to take it, or put another way, you lost something you felt you earned in favor of someone who didn't earn it, then your sense of injustice makes sense. I can very much see how you would feel compelled to oppose such an initiative. However, despite the political rhetoric that gets shared far and wide, DEI efforts are not about giving unqualified people jobs to the detriment of the company or organization and everyone in it, all to prioritize some arbitrary statistics or some social agenda. In reality, it is intended to help those who are qualified, whether similarly qualified or differently qualified, with the chance to be seen, the chance to be considered, and hopefully given the chance to get the job and show that their similar or different qualifications can indeed be an asset to that organization or company and everyone in it. Some automatically respond in agreement, but add that if they are truly qualified, then the DEI initiative wouldn't be necessary. Unfortunately, history doesn't support this ideal view. Too often, when given the choice between multiple qualified individuals, those in leadership choose people who they already feel familiar and thus more comfortable. And this level of unconscious comfort with some and unconscious discomfort with others that they never are able to put into words and couldn't quite identify if they tried is the unconscious bias that's often discussed in DEI trainings. It doesn't mean that entire groups of people are evil, but instead, even when things are equal in qualifications, it's not always equal in opportunity. And DEI efforts are intended to help incentivize that opportunity in the hope that everyone will be pleasantly surprised by the result. Open their minds to differing qualifications and viewing the risk of stepping outside of one's biased comfort zone to be worth it for the long term benefit of everyone involved. Which leads to consideration number two. Not all DEI efforts promote polarizing negativity, shame, and national hate. When companies and organizations invite me to come out and speak to their teams of professionals on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity, focusing more on strengthening cross cultural relationships than dividing them, one of the most common feedback responses I receive is that my training isn't like the past, often mandated DEI trainings they were required to attend. When I inquire further, they often share conspiratorially that while my training doesn't shy away from serious DEI topics such as racism, discrimination, privilege, oppression, and social justices as a whole, past trainings did so in a way that made them feel judged, shamed, blamed, and wrong just because of the color of their skin or their gender or who their ancestors were. Whereas I, so far as they know, which I continue to do on a regular basis, find a way to discuss these topics in a way that makes them want to lean in, learn more, and do something differently moving forward, helping ensure that the future is better than the past for their benefit as well as those whom they work for and serve. You see, as a therapist, I've seen the psychological and emotional impact of shame, judgment, and hate. Long before it turns into a hate crime, negativity and shame tends to make people do less instead of doing more, making them focus on defending themselves or deflecting blame rather than learning how to own their part, if any, and behaviorally distance themselves from the historical baggage, not just in words, but in actions that reflect that distance and desire for a better future for us all. Now, let me be clear. There is a time for hard truths to be shared, not only about negative things that have occurred in the past, but also on the lingering impact of those things in the present. But in doing so, what makes those discussions positively impactful is the intentional effort to not stay in the past any longer than is necessary to learn what is necessary to identify what needs to be done in the present and the future together to ensure that the past is not unwittingly repeated. Which leads to consideration number three. Healthy, relationship focused DEI efforts are necessary to bring a reduction of injustices for us all. Many have said that DEI makes people focus on race and ethnicity, gender, sexuality, and more in such a way that divides us into separate groups based on these arbitrary categories. But while the desire to avoid division is a good one, the effort to accomplish this by pretending that diversity doesn't exist is not only unnecessary, but detrimental. Let me put it another way. If your goal of a colorblind society means that we treat everyone equal in value and contribution, no matter our similarities or differences, then I say thank you. I'm on board with that plan. Unfortunately, too often people use the word colorblind to mean that the only way we can truly eliminate division is to eliminate differences altogether and treat everyone as if we're all the same. But while this sounds good in reality, it causes more division because it requires people to check their uniqueness at the door in favor of one preferred sense of normal, and any effort to acknowledge a positive difference, a unique contribution or perspective, or any other difference is automatically seen as divisive. Not only that, but historically, the normal that has often been deemed the one all others are compared to and deemed abnormal has benefited some and severely been detrimental to others. To remedy this, we need only learn to resist the temptation to see cultural differences as threats and instead see them as opportunities to enhance the group as a whole because of its uniqueness. In this way, no one is compared to a central normal. Instead, everyone learns to value who they are individually, where they came from, the good and the bad, and what they bring to the table today that can enhance the whole if given a chance. With this perspective, DEI doesn't have to be banned because DEI isn't synonymous with voluntary or mandated firing squads where everyone is judged based on historical behaviors of their ancestors. Instead, DEI can be a healthy effort to help people learn about the past, the good and the bad, and learn how to use both to help in the effort to work together today to ensure that everyone, no matter their cultural similarities or differences, are seen, understood, valued, included, and empowered to be the best version of themselves they can be for the betterment of us all. And since this practically still is just an ideal perspective that we haven't yet fully accomplished, DEI efforts, initiatives, and the like are still necessary to help bring awareness of the need in the present and future, not just the past. The awareness of the potential benefits for all, not just for some, and the need for us to work together to make it a reality, not just those who feel disadvantaged working to make it a reality for them. If this definition of DEI is reality, one that benefits everyone, not just some, were promoted more often, I would imagine it would be more difficult to ban DEI because then we'd be banning something designed to benefit those who ban it, along with many others who are worried. That's a goal we're striving for. With all these in mind, my hope for you is that you would find yourselves in opportunities, both personally and professionally, to directly or indirectly promote or encourage a perspective on DEI that isn't skewed against groups of people, but one that acknowledges that until the ideal future arrives when everyone is valued equally, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts can help us intentionally learn how to appreciate such in reality. If done well, DEI can be the very thing that brings more unity than division, more appreciation of similarities and differences than the deletion of them, and ultimately, more healthy cross cultural interactions between confident and appreciated people everywhere. And with that, I'll say thanks again for listening to today's Diversity Do podcast. If you have any pressing diversity related questions that you'd like me to address on an upcoming podcast, or if your organization is in need of a positive and shame free guest speaker or training on this often sensitive topic, then feel free to reach out to me directly at www.diversitymadesimple.com. And if you know anyone else who can benefit from a positive and encouraging perspective on this often difficult topic of diversity, then feel free to send them a link to this podcast so they can be encouraged as well, or share with them my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, available at Amazon.com. And don't forget to visit TED.com and check out my talk called What to Do When You Offend Someone. I hope it inspires you and that you share it with someone else so that they can be inspired as well. And as usual, I look forward to addressing as many topics as possible in future podcasts to help you improve as many relationships as possible at work, at home, and in your community. And as always, remember this: you don't need to know everything about everyone in order to have a positive impact on someone. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Tune in each week and find out how to demand and implement diversity at your job. To hear more, check out previous Diversity Dude shows on ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.